during the height of the storm, you know, the scream of the wind was deafening. We could hear just thunderous crashes of debris flying through the air. You know, at some points you could feel the whole hotel, which was made of solid concrete, shaking as some unknown object was just repeatedly crashing into the side of the hotel.
So we have storm surge starting to flood the ground floor of the hotel. Residents are evacuating up to the second floor.
We had residents staying at the hotel on the ground floor, as you can see in the video, who were trapped. They were smashing windows in sheer desperation to try and get out of those hotel rooms, you know, in total fear of their lives.
Maybe here.
I was riding out the storm with the CNN crew and Andrew Stevens and Tim Schwartz, and it was really put the cameras down. We've got to get out there and help these people, otherwise, you know, there's a possibility they could drown.
One more. We're good, everyone.
It was a life-threatening situation for those people, and it was an incredibly dangerous situation. People are roaming the streets just dazed and confused. I just hope this gives them that. It's hard to describe in words, but I hope this just can give, you know, the viewers an understanding of what the situation is like there. It's desperate.
So we got some looting going on at the drugstore there by the looks of it. People are starting to get pretty desperate, it would seem. As you can see, we're just basically heading back to the hotel to meet Mark. This town is suffering very badly.
I've been through a lot of typhoons before, I've been through a lot of natural disasters before, and this just does not, it's incomparable. This is just off the scale in terms of just an event to witness, and the aftermath is honestly apocalyptic in Tacloban. It's a devastating situation.
Wow, there's some remarkable aerial footage there of the area that was damaged by Typhoon Haiyan. For more on how that storm has impacted the Philippines, I'm joined now by CNN's Christy Wustout. She is in Manila, and as we were telling our viewers, Christy, at the top of the hour, the government has made a formal request for aid. What does that mean exactly?
That's right. The government has made that formal request for aid because it's aid that they desperately need. They have managed to evacuate some 3.8 million people before the storm hit, but now they're facing a situation of hundreds of thousands of people who desperately need help. This is what we know now. It's been 48 hours since the storm first made landfall. We're getting this more complete picture of the devastation. The government has released an official number. The death toll is at 138. It says well over 250,000 people have been displaced. That's why they need that aid. Now, the death toll number that we're getting from the government is much lower than what we've heard from the Red Cross. Estimates from the Red Cross, 1,200 people dead, 1,000 in Tacloban City alone, 200 in a neighboring province. And the reasons for those deaths are twofold. One, because of the extreme winds, and the other, it's because of the storm surge. I mean, the storm surge, which was like a massive wave of water from waist high, reports up to 5 meters tall, just sweeping through the city. You just aired that pretty gripping video from James Reynolds, who was traveling in Tacloban City there with Andrew Stevens and Tim Schwartz. And it needs to, this point needs to be made. I heard from James Reynolds that the hotel that they were staying at, where you saw that waist-high water, was some 2 blocks away from the coastline. So that gives you a sense of just how powerful the storm surge was, not just to only reach that height, but to reach that intensity to sweep through 2 blocks in from the coastline. The population there in Tacloban City completely closed off from the rest of the world. Our reporting teams there, they have access to satellite phones, satellite technology. They can communicate with us that way. Definitely not the situation for the local population. Communication networks down, power lines down, access to food and fresh and safe drinking water also very limited because the roads are impassable due to all the debris and the fallen trees. And of course, they have devastation and the damage there at the airport. So, and oh my goodness, on top of that, a very worrying development, looting and lawlessness has broken out there in Tacloban City because people are trying to take matters into their own hands. So Hala, really overall, very desperate situation there in Tacloban City. Back to you.
And we were speaking with a UN spokesperson a little bit earlier in charge of coordinating humanitarian relief. and she was essentially saying because the airport road is closed off by debris, that you can't have commercial flights landing with aid, that aid has to be airdropped, and certainly there's no way to get there by road right now until that debris is cleared, which means that people who really need clean water, who need basic food supplies, aren't able to get it in any traditional way, and they're going to have to rely on helicopters dropping this from the air.
You're absolutely correct. Our reporters on the ground have witnessing the military helicopters being able to come in to bring much needed supplies, much needed expertise to help all the displaced people on the ground. But because of the extensive damage at the Tacloban City Airport, which is the main airport there on Leyte Island, you cannot rely on the airstrip to bring in the huge planes to bring in the much needed aid. And of course the roads impassable as well. One glimmer of hope, if we could put it that way, when I was talking to Andrew Stevens recently, he noted that he was able to see the ferry port, and the ferry port was undamaged. Of course, the water has calmed down since what happened 2 days ago, but that could be an additional line of access, a very critical logistical supply line for the government, for aid workers, for relief agencies to come in and to bring in the power generators, the communications equipment, the medicine, the food, water, shelter that the displaced people there in Tacloban City and elsewhere so need at this moment. Paula.
Thanks very much. Christy Lustau, live in Manila, part of our team of correspondents and anchors covering this unfolding humanitarian catastrophe for the Philippines. Well, humanitarian groups are playing a crucial role in relief efforts, as they always do in these cases. One of those is Accord, a nonprofit organization based in the Philippines. Athena Hepte is an emergency coordinator there, and she joins me now on the line from Bohol in the Philippines. Athena, I hope I pronounced your surname correctly.
Yes, that's perfect.
All right, Athena, thanks for being with us. You're in Bohol, one of those areas that aid workers are not able to reach as easily as they'd like. What is the situation there right now?
Currently, Bohol is pretty better than we have expected. Roads are still passable, and people have enough food at least for 2 weeks. Because the DSWD, as you know, Bohol just came from a 7.2 magnitude earthquake. So most of aid workers already started providing assistance in the area.
Well, I have a friend of mine, a friend of mine from boarding school from decades ago, who just emailed me, whose brother is in Bohol. She is worried sick about her family members there, and she's asking me, and I don't have the answer for her. Have people lost their lives in Bohol? What's the situation there? What have you been able to observe?
For at least for Bohol, there has not been reported casualties. At least for the typhoon, it's still the earthquake that has ravaged the area. But as of now, there is still no electricity because electricity comes from Leyte as well. So the whole of Bohol does not have electricity, and it's the only means for most municipalities to get their source of water because most are electric operated. So most of areas doesn't have water as of now, but food is still available though.
Food is still available, but for how long? I suppose if it's problematic to get supplies there might be concerns longer term, or not?
At least for Bohol, not so much because access is easy. And Cebu, which is a nearby island, still has supplies. So supplies are just easily transported to areas, though. Okay,
so if I'm hearing you correctly, it seems as though Bohol right now, compared to other areas in the Philippines, including Tacloban, things are okay. I mean, it's a little bit, there's some relief there. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that's true. That's true.
All right. Well, thanks very much, Athena Hepte, an emergency coordinator there for Accord, a nonprofit organization based in the Philippines. Thanks so